The next couple of weeks on the photo walk are spent walking here. Here, Neil, where's here? I can't see you. I'm over here, look, this way. Oh, there you are. Greenham Common, that looks like. Yes, it does. Let me get a sketchbook picture. It's a very bright day today. Let's just get the control tower in the background, in the distance. 1300 shutter speed, f5.6, ISO 160. A sketchbook picture to start the walk.
I thought, what am I going to make this magazine about? I don't want to make it on membership site management. That's boring. I said, I love street photography. I'll make one on street photography. Called it Street Photography Magazine. I got the domain name Street Photography Magazine. And at the time we were publishing, we were publishing like every other month, something like that to begin. So anyway, that's when it started. It wasn't too nerve-wracking because you know what? I was just doing it to test out the platform, to learn how to use it and see if it works. I thought I'd do it for 6 months and shut it down. Well, here it is 13 years later, and I'm still doing it.
That's Bob Patterson, who founded Street Photography Magazine over a decade ago, as you heard. And I like this story a lot, because it's about throwing yourself into something that may or may not work out. There are no guarantees in life, clearly. I know. Note to self, Neil, perhaps the title for this episode could be The Courage to Start, because I've been trying to think of one, and it's just occurred to me we could use that. Because this week, and the next really, the big 500th episode kind of tied up in starting something and seeing what wonderful adventures that something or some things can take you on. There's a wonderful line which I will recount more and more times as we approach that time of year. If you're going to say Christmas, Neil, this early, I'm coming down the lakes and personally pushing you in next time you're there. Yes, I know. But go with me. There's a wonderful line from Miracle on 34th Street, which I know is a movie, but I do like the spirit of this short sentence. It's the bit where Kris Kringle is talking to a store owner about having faith. Faith in a thing and faith in a feeling and faith in your own ability to believe and see things through. And the line goes like this. If you can't believe, if you can't accept anything on faith, then you're doomed for a life dominated by doubt. That's a special piece of writing, that. Now, I know it was written for a particular storyline, but I think that it works in life generally. And coming off the back of a feel-good title to the show last week, Celebrate What's Right with the World, I think that line is perfect for an episode which features Bob Patterson today, who started an online magazine about a genre he just enjoyed. He liked it. He liked it so much, he didn't overthink it. He thought, well, he's going to tell you the story, actually, so I won't do a spoiler. But he didn't procrastinate. He essentially started doing something which he loved. And it's grown into this thing that 13 years later is still here. This podcast, I think, is the result of a sprinkling of courage and a lot of stubbornness at times, I'm sure, but we hit the 500th episode next week, and honestly, when I listened to the first few episodes, thank God you've been patient with it, is all I can say. We often wait for the perfect moment to start stuff, don't we? We tell ourselves we'll begin that when the kit's better, when the weather's a bit better, when life feels a bit less busy. But I don't think, and as I've found over the last few years, or probably my life, those perfect conditions really ever exist, do they? There's never a perfect moment to start anything. And I think that message comes across loud and clearly in my conversation with Bob Patterson today. So wherever you find yourself in life, whether it's starting a new job or having the courage to chase a dream, then I think Bob is a fantastic guest in terms of an inspirational message about just starting. So yes, it's a show about courage, but it's also a show about street photography. Well, my guests, at any rate. The last time we had a dedicated street photography special was actually back in July. a couple of weeks in when I aired the Paris street photography special, so I think it's time for another more focused street week. Although, as you're about to find out, street doesn't necessarily mean standing on a street corner in a vibey part of the city, acting all ninja-like and waiting for the shot that will get you instant Magnum membership. No, it's far more nuanced. And I do have some letters that aren't to do with street as well, but our guests are very much street-focused today, that's for sure. I have two guests who'll unpick a little of the meaning behind street. I know it's a mini topic we come to a few times. Today, Bob Patterson from Street Photography magazine and street photographer Valérie Jardin, who is back to review your work in Teach Me Street. Today on the Photo Walk.
When I was 10 years old, my mother bought me a darkroom kit, and that really set me off. I was always interested in science, too. I never became an engineer or a scientist. Photography was another geeky thing to do, and I think it just showed me the world. I could see these places that I've never been and probably would never go. And and it's funny, at the time I didn't even realize what I was looking at. Now today, when I'm a huge fan of W. Eugene Smith. I'm sure I was looking at his work in that magazine at the time, but had no idea. I looked at the syllabus for the course, and he said, one of the things you have to do in the course is walk up to strangers on the street and take their photograph. And I immediately broke into a cold sweat. I like to photograph at events, but not the event itself, but around the event, around the edges, like a parade.
That's Bob Patterson, my guest on the Photo Walk show today, who alongside Valérie Jardin, who returns for this month's Teach Me Street, brings a street theme to today's show. Although we do break away for letters of different genres too, it's a show shaped by your letters as much as my wonderful guests, which is what makes this time together each week on this podcast feel so personal, makes this community so strong. I'll peek into that mailbag in a moment just to see what is coming up. But before that, thank you to those who are Patreon members of our community, our extra milers, because your belief in the show, your desire to keep us walking together week after week is the why and the how of this podcast. More about the Extra Mile show later on. Thank you also to arthelper.ai, who help you to sell your photos online by making the posts and the mock-ups and the marketing emails for you. That's what the AI bit is. If you've ever thought, I want to sell my work. I've got some great stuff that I've made, out in the countryside. I've got some great seascapes. I've got some great landscapes. But I haven't a clue how to even start selling them online. Arthelper.ai, this is where they pop up and do those tricky bits for you. And you can get 30 days free with the code PHOTOWALK when you go to arthelper.ai. Right, on the show today then, Axel Trapp has started a postcard project, and you know how much I love a good postcard. Hannah Gimblett reflects on why photography is such a powerful force in the face of personal adversity. Dr. Reflection, aka Robin Chun, has made his reflections into a book, so he has. And Jason Burton has a story of patience, which goes hand in hand with this month's one-word assignment, of course. So, shall we walk? Yes. Checklist out. Coffee. Yep, check. Garibaldi's. Few left over. Check. Dog treats. Still remembering, you see. Check. Walking boots. Check. Some spare film or an extra SD card. Check. Well, we're good to go. Let's walk. The notes and the messages you send in give this community its character. Whether you're writing about walking or photography or simply the way creativity fits into your life, it all cuts through the noise and helps us share these miles together that we walk. Thank you for your letters. Where's Barnes gone? Come on, Barnes. I can see the cattle in the distance. I hope he's not gone to me. Oh, you're behind me. How did you do that? I didn't see you. Don't get angry. If you'd like to drop me a line, then the address is stories@photowalk.show. Stories@photowalk.show. I know we talk about visiting the show page because there's always lots to see on the show page, links and so on. And let me say, this first letter in a moment hopefully will give you plenty of reason to grab a cup of coffee, a Garibaldi, and some time to the tablet or the laptop or however you look at the net to look at some stuff. Now, some of your stories come with real hurdles to even pressing the shutter, but what gets me is how those hurdles don't necessarily shut creativity down. If anything, people just find a way to work through them and keep making pictures. So here is one from Hannah Gimblett, whose health conditions, which are complex, have thwarted her from leaving her bed at a comparatively young age. And she talks about this on her website as well. But whenever we exchange messages, whenever we communicate, we talk about being out and about in places like Scotland one day for the retreat, which I sincerely hope, I really do, Hannah, that one day we are together somehow in Scotland. I do. Hi, Neil. It's certainly been a little while. How are things? I do hope life in 2025 is treating the community well. My health this year has brought an awful lot of challenges, particularly over the last couple of months, especially after a very traumatic hospital stay earlier on this year. Unfortunately, those restrictions have stood in the way of me truly pursuing my creativity in the first half of the year. Nonetheless, I am determined to pursue what I'm truly passionate about in life and to create work that I'm proud of again. I've been putting together a new website after winning a subscription via Amazing Internet's portfolio series. Well done, you. Following the feature I had in Amateur Photographer magazine back in February. I'll link to it on the show page, Hannah, of course. And yes, it's a wonderfully simple design, which is very powerful. Often this is the way, isn't it? Your botanical pictures, straight away, they sing from that front page. Just the right thing to meet your eye straight away. So yes, I'll link to your website on the show page today. I've also created a new Substack, she says. I'm seeing it as a fresh start to regain my creativity. You know, Substack's a fantastic place for photographers. It really is. You can share pictures and ideas straight to the people who actually want to see them. You're not served up I was going to call it a diet of people that you've not subscribed to. I'm not quite sure that's the right phrase, but you actually see work from those that you're interested to see and to learn more about. That's why I like Substack anyway. I don't post as much on it as I really could, but it is a fantastic place. On that note, says Hannah, I read an incredibly poignant piece on Substack last week from the photographer Susan Helmut's My Morning Muse. The article explores the powerful work of a photographer called Claude Batho. I think it's Batho. Is it Batho? Batho. Oh, Hannah. Let me, can I get a quick picture of this for you so you can appreciate it? Go on, pick it up again. No, go on, pick it up. Looney here has picked up the biggest branch. That's not a stick, it's a branch. Come on, bring it with you. There's no point just sitting there barking at me about it. Go on, drag it with you. Come on, bring stick or branch. Where were we? Yes, Claude Batho and the deep impact her community has had on Susan Helmut. Now, this is part of Susan's mission of shining light on various extraordinary female photographers after realising the disproportionate amount of male photographers in her photo book collection. Now, Hannah, I've followed all your links in your letter, and oh my word, Claude Batho, this French photographer. There is a video. Look, you owe it to yourself, not to you, Hannah, because I know you've seen it. You posted it or posted a link to it. I'm talking about my other listener. You owe it to yourself to watch on Susan's Substack piece that I've linked to, thanks to Hannah sending me it. It's extraordinary work. It really is. It's beautiful. These rich, deep, contrasty studies of, I'm going to call it studies of life. The stuff that you might so easily think is not worth photographing. I'm going to go as far as saying if anybody were to ask me what I want for Christmas this year, this isn't a hint. I got a birthday before then. I'd say Claude Batho's book. Just saying. But it's beautiful. The portraits in there. As Susan, who made this video that you have to go and see on her Substack post, as she flicked through the pages of the book, I was left thinking, well, it's not one single spread here that I wouldn't linger on for at least a couple of minutes. It's absolutely gorgeous. It truly is. I tune into the photo walk, says Hannah, and as always, I find it a meditative experience each week, while also discovering such fascinating creatives. So thank you for bringing that to all our lives, Neil. My latest Substack piece is dedicated to the photo walk. As you approach the 500th episode, you did. Thank you so much. I hope August proves to be a bright and creative month ahead for all of us. Well, you sent your letter in August. I should have just changed that there. Let me just change it, Hannah. Rewind. Only you and I will know. I do hope autumn proves to be a bright and creative period for ahead for each of us. There we go, Hannah. Corrected. Nobody knows but you and I. Take care. Sending all my best wishes from Hannah. Hannah, first, I am sorry, I really am, to hear it's not been the easiest year health-wise. I'm forever buoyed by your absolute, resolute determination to do that thing in your life that brings you solace and joy. People often talk about shining beacons, don't they? And in a world that's so often moaning about its lot, you are, and I mean this genuinely, a shining beacon. As for your very kind piece about the show, as we get to 500 next week, you know me, Hannah. I'd have to go and find that sofa to hide behind, especially given your kind words in the piece that you wrote. So I shall simply leave a link and let those with their coffee take a moment or 5 or 15 or possibly 30 with all those links that you sent in today. Lots to go and explore. Greenham Common, where I'm walking today, does become my muse as we enter autumn and head into winter. The banks of the canal where I walk for much of the summer, they usually, in the end, get invaded by, oh, look at this. They usually get invaded by, the water just, it doesn't become a path anymore. It just becomes an extension of the canal. I always find this amazing. I know I've mentioned this before, but I do still find it amazing that you can walk around Greenham Common and every so often there's this sort of, this looks like a snake just sticking out of the ground. Let me get another sketchbook picture. It's wiring, and because this used to be an airbase, occasionally you come across things that are here because, they've not been removed for starters. Sometimes things like the fire hydrants I know are left here because it's definitely a symbol of what was once here. But then sometimes you come across wiring looms or a wire sticking out of the ground. Goodness knows where that goes, but we're right next to the, I think we're on, this would have been the runway. So this could possibly have been a wire that went to one of the runway lights. But it is funny as you walk along here, and you find things in countryside where you think, well, where does that go to? Why is that wire sticking out the ground? Just ahead of my chat with Bob Patterson, a real-life package came flooding into the show over the last week from Robin Chun, Dr. Reflection. A man for whom reflections in his street photography is a rite of passage. I love Robin's work, and I'll be sure to leave a link to him on the show page today on this episode, because he hasn't sent pictures in this time. He sent a book, a real-life book, a hold-it-in-your-hand, tangible book. So yes, in the package was this beautiful small square book, 5.5 by 5.5 again. It's a glossy book of Robin's amazing street photography. Full colour, wonderful thick gloss-coated pages. And he self-published it through Photobox. And it's a book called reflections, as that is one of Robin's superpowers. He sees reflections in everything. If it can reflect, Robin can use it. You know me for my aeroplanes and being interrupted by them, but Greenham Common on a very blue sky day is one of those waypoints, or is something light aircraft look out for. Should we fly over Greenham Common? Yeah, let's. I think Neil might be recording one of his episodes. Let's look for him and fly directly overhead. Go on. Be off with you. Don't be doing a circle. Go right and just stay going that way. Anyway, from Robin. Hi, Neil. Please excuse the presumption. You can presumpt as much as you like. But as one who bestowed upon me the title of Dr. Reflection, is that what I called you? Did I call you Dr. Reflection? Who more appropriate than your good self to receive this modest little book of some of the most recent street photography? I don't care that plane, Robin, is flying around my head. I did say in a recent meeting that I start these links again when there's a plane, and somebody said to me, no, don't do that. That's half the fun of the whole thing. That's the reality. I like it when you get a bit agitated by the planes. Anyway, back to Robin. I'm seeing it through, Robin. I'm going for it. Yes. Who more appropriate than your good self to receive this modest little book of some of the most recent street photography that I've done? Please consider it a small but nonetheless sincere appreciation for all your work on the Photo Walk podcast, without which my Friday nights would not be the same. Well, you're very kind, Robin. Thank you for the book, which I love. I do love the way you get excited about reflections. I really do. I like that passion. And that's the joy, isn't it? When you look at other people's pictures to see the different passions that everybody has. Now, you've put me in a tricky place, Dr. Reflection, because I have something to say about our zine coming out in a while. I'm going to talk about it today. I might do. There's a lot of letters and stuff. But one of the working titles for it is Reflections, very much based on how we reflect upon photography, yes, through the letters and the thoughts that we have on this podcast, but equally based on the reflections pieces that I write for the Extra Mile. Well, Monday through Friday, there's a reflection piece every day, some thoughts about photography and this wonderful creative thing that we all do. And on Monday, of course, that's also available here on the Photo Walk podcast stream. So there were many reasons, or there's a few reasons at least, for choosing that title. We shall have to meet for an arm wrestle. If I win, I get the chance to use it too. How about that as a deal? Right, this week is Street Week as far as the guests are concerned, and perfectly following on from that letter there is the first of my Street Talk guests this week, starting with Bob Patterson, who I talked about in the intro, but I'd like you to meet somebody who didn't realise when he launched his online magazine that it would pretty much take over his waking hour thoughts. He is proof, though, of that just do it mentality, and there's a reflection feature on exactly that in the Extra Mile today. I think one of the fabulous things about Bob is that he launched Street Photography magazine to promote the work of others, to really foster community and to invite other people into that community. So here is my conversation with Bob Patterson. Bob, last week on the show, I talked with the former National Geo legend DeWitt Jones, and we talked about early inspiration, such as how he'd sneak the light back on in the bedroom when everybody in the house had gone to bed to devour National Geo. And I had a similar kind of story because I didn't need the light, to be fair. I used to listen to the radio under the covers, dreaming one day I could be on one of those world services. But I think magazines like Life are much to blame for your own curious eyes. Were you hiding under the bed covers with the magazines, or sneaking the light back on?
I didn't have to hide, but it was certainly Life magazine.
Yeah, there was another one as well, wasn't there? There was Life.
Yeah, Look magazine.
Look, so I'm not so familiar with.
You know, my parents got both of them, and they were very similar. Photo stories, black and white photo stories. Mm. I haven't seen one in many years. I still have a few Life magazines.
Yeah. I think there's many photographers would probably put their hands up to say, I've got a few Life magazines on the shelf. What was it about what you found in those pages, though, that really encouraged you?
That's a good question. I grew up in a very small town on the Ohio River. Never went anywhere except for maybe Pittsburgh. You know, my parents, they spent all their time and money playing golf, so we never traveled or went anywhere. And I think it just showed me the world. I could see these places that I've never been and probably would never go. And, you know, and it's funny, at the time I didn't even realize what I was looking at. You know, now today, when I'm a huge fan of W. Eugene Smith. I'm sure I was looking at his work in that magazine at the time, but had no idea. And I think it shaped my taste and my style on photography ever since.
I can't remember who it was that I was talking to who took a similar path, really, and was very much inspired by. I remember talking about Life with them, and then they were quite surprised to learn that you could actually make money from taking photographs of people and places. Was there something going through your mind during your childhood, thinking, I wonder whether this is a possible career path?
You know, I never thought of it as a career path, but I always wanted to do it. It's funny, my son did follow it as a career path, but when I was 10 years old, my mother bought me a darkroom kit, and that really set me off. You know, I was always interested in science, too. I never became an engineer or a scientist. Photography was another geeky thing to do.
Where did you set up the darkrooms? Probably the bathroom, isn't it? With blackout blinds or something.
Yes, we had, when I was a little bit younger, my grandfather came to live with us, and my uncle paid to have our basement finished, into a big room and a bathroom. And so I used that bathroom. It was in the basement, so we didn't have any windows, which was nice. Although the door was slatted. It wasn't like a solid door, so I did have to hang a blanket up. Yeah. At the time, I never had an enlarger. So I had a Brownie camera, 120 film. I'd made a lot of contact prints.
I want to believe you still have the Life magazines, but you said you've only got a couple, and I want to believe you still got the Kodak Brownie as well.
I have a Kodak Brownie, but I don't know if it's our old one. My son had it. He had a collection of cameras, and so it's on that shelf behind me, on the lower shelf. So I should try it.
Do you remember the first photograph that made you stop and think, wow, I can do this?
I don't remember what it was, but it was a contact print, I can tell you that.
Inevitably.
Probably a dog, but I'm just guessing.
It's usually family pets, isn't it? Yeah, you had a successful career in cable telly, didn't you, before?
Yes.
And we're going to come to Street Photography magazine, and I have a whole bunch of questions about Street Photography magazine,
fine.
Of course. But what made you leap into that completely different field?
Well, I was inspired by my grandfather, who was a journalist in Indiana. So I always wanted to become a journalist. He was the publisher of the Kokomo Tribune in Kokomo, Indiana. Tough guy, smoked Camel cigarettes nonstop. Of course, they eventually killed him. He could type probably 100 words a minute with 2 fingers. He was a badass, and I loved him and wanted to be like him, except for those Camel cigarettes. And when I went to college, I majored in broadcast journalism, new technology. I'm a geek, unapologetically. When I got out of school, it was during the oil embargo. Jobs were hard to find. And eventually I went to work in the cable TV business. New technology, very entrepreneur. And then I just worked my way up, became president of a small wireless cable company, also new technology. Yeah. So that's how I got into that field. You know, I was married, had kids, kept working in the field, really liked it. And then we started embracing, that was at the dawn of digital technology for video and a high-speed internet service at the time. Cable modem service was the hot thing, and we operated what was called a wireless cable system, where we delivered TV channels over microwave wireless. And we were competitive. We competed with the large cable companies.
Do you think that career in television influenced anything about your visual storytelling? I know you said it was the geek end of it and you were interested in the technology, but did that experience help with your storytelling?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I think so. You know, majoring in broadcasting, we took courses in interviewing. You know, we had to make films at the time. We didn't make videos. So, yeah, I think so. And also, I learned to write. I did work part-time at a newspaper in Cleveland, a little neighborhood newspaper where I covered city council. So, yeah, I think it helped a lot.
I'm going to try and join the dots, actually, now, because this period of working in the day job with a proper suit and then moving toward photography. But just join those dots for me a bit so I understand that timeline of when photography started to become more important in your life.
Yeah, because it comes and goes, you know, as you're raising kids, you just get busy working all the time. And it became a much bigger part of my life, I would say, well, number one, when my son had an interest in it. I've always been taking photographs. But my son, when he was in high school and he was getting towards the middle of high school, he had an interest in photography. He took a course in the summertime at a local university. Then he decided he wanted to go to photojournalism school. And that reawakened my interest big time. It was still before digital was popular. He was shooting film. And I remember I took him to Pittsburgh. We just lived about 35 miles from Pittsburgh. Hopefully you'll go through there on your trip back to the East Coast.
I'm not sure. It might well be, yeah.
Pittsburgh's a very cool town for photography. It's nestled in the hills between three rivers, and there's lots of bridges and lots of street life. And so I took him there because he had to create a portfolio. And that really reawakened, I think, my interest in photography and seeing the work that he did. He's very, very talented photographer.
And so your photography, when that spark started again, was it street photography then, or how did it begin to manifest?
Well, I bought a digital camera. What is it? G4. It was a Canon G4. Loved those things. And I was photographing everything, like everybody does. And I took a class from the Cleveland Photographic Society. I had an excellent beginner photography class. So I got back into it in the digital world. And I was looking on the Better Photo website. And this is before we had Zoom or anything. All the courses were by phone, by conference call. And I looked at this course on portrait photography by this guy named Ibarionex Perello. This was 20 years ago. He was teaching the class, and I said, that looks pretty interesting. I looked at the syllabus for the course, and he said, one of the things you have to do in the course is walk up to strangers on the street and take their photograph. And I immediately broke into a cold sweat. And I said, I think I'm going to do something else. So I chose another course called street photography. I said, thinking back to Life magazine and Look magazine, he said, that sounds very interesting. And it was taught by a couple named Silverman out of San Francisco. And I took that, and I met a guy, Joe Wigfall, really good street photographer from New York. We became friends. And after the course was over, he started a Flickr group called Street Photography, and I helped him with it. And I just loved everything about it. And then I did finally start taking pictures of on the street, and I didn't die.
Well, actually, that leads me then to ask, what is street photography? We're going to talk much about Street Photography magazine, but you have spoken with, interviewed, written about, studied the work of many street photographers now. And we have this constant debate that flows through the show of what street photography is. Some will say it's entirely candid. Some will say, no, that includes street portraits as well. It doesn't have to be candid.
I agree with you.
How do you break it down?
I think we're going to be in agreement on a lot of this. I've heard it defined as candid, in public, and I forget the third one. And I always say candid, yeah, but it doesn't have to be. In public, open, outside in public spaces, not necessarily. And whatever the third one is, I forget.
Well, does it have to be in a city, for example?
City, oh yes, urban, thank you. Not necessarily. There are a lot of great what I would call street photos. To me, they're more photos in the moment. It doesn't always have to be candid, but it doesn't hurt either. So, you know what? There's no hard and fast definition. I think whatever it means to you, if you want to run around and take pictures of streets, I guess you could say that's street photography.
Well, what about your own photography then? So you picked it up again, you started making pictures in the street, you went to this course. And so how did it, if you excuse the pun, develop from there?
I do it a lot when I travel. Well, I would just, I was in Cleveland at the time, and so fortunately I live near a large city, and I can just go out and photograph whatever captures my eye, whatever interests me. Often it's people. I like to photograph at events, but not the event itself, but around the event, around the edges, like a parade. Who cares about taking pictures of people walking down the street at the parade? I'd rather photograph the crowd or the people getting ready.
Behind the scenes, as it were. And I'm glad
definitely behind the scenes.
I'm glad you mentioned travel, because we talk so often about the exotic. Going to different places as being the muse. That unless you're traveling to a city 100, 200, 300 miles, 3,000 miles away, it will be far more exciting than photographing in your own backyard. But that's not necessarily true, is it? There is so much that goes on in your community.
Absolutely. I do this myself sometimes to say there's nothing to shoot around here. I live in a small town now, but there is. You just have to not look, but see. I'm not the first person to have said that, as you well know.
Well, let's talk about Street Photography magazine. It was launched back in 2013.
Yep.
And you launched it through Apple's Newsstand.
I did.
I do remember Apple's Newsstand. What do the first few months feel like? I would imagine that's a nerve-wracking time, isn't it? Thinking, will it fly? Will it not fly?
I didn't know. A little bit of a backstory. I basically was out of work in my late 50s during the Great Recession. Makes it hard for a guy in that age to actually get back into a high-paying career.
I'd say.
Being a techno geek, I started a web development business, creating membership sites, mainly for people like me who were out of work and they had something to teach. And I started building membership sites. And so I spent a lot of time in learning technology and web development. And I ran into, there's this guy, Marco Arment. He was one of the founders of Tumblr, and he created an app a magazine called The Magazine. And he actually wrote the app. I didn't have the ability to create an app. And I thought, that's really cool. If I could get an app like this, I could finally be a journalist. Because I never did become a journalist, and I always wanted to. I thought that's pretty cool, And along comes these people that created a business where you can buy a license to have an app created to make a magazine. And I was making training websites, membership sites. And I thought this magazine thing could be a good tool for that. So I bought this license for this app, and I thought, what am I going to make this magazine about? I don't want to make it on membership site management. That's boring. I said, I love street photography. I'll make one on street photography. Called it Street Photography Magazine. I got the domain name Street Photography Magazine, and at the time we were publishing, we were publishing like every other month, something like that to begin. So anyway, that's when it started. It wasn't too nerve-wracking because you know what? I was just doing it to test out the platform, to learn how to use it and see if it works. I thought I'd do it for 6 months and shut it down. Well, here it is 13 years later, or almost 13 years later, and I'm still doing it. But it's nerve-wracking every day. I mean, creating content constantly. You certainly know that. You're in the content creation business. It's a hungry beast.
Well, you need to feed it constantly.
You do. And I'm working now more than I was when I was the president of a company.
Yeah, I know that feeling very well.
You have to, because you make some really nice stuff, and that's got to take a lot of work.
Well, it's very kind of you to say, but I know that a community can help you a lot in that in that way. It's a community is a two-way relationship, most definitely, because you're in service for your community, and your community can help that service that you're providing grow and be more interesting for the benefit of having their input.
And it's a lot of work to remain in touch and engage with the community.
Yeah. So was that from the get-go, was that the idea that you would lean on the community and say, look, help me, I want to show your work, I want to show what this genre is about, or did you have to start with something that was far heavier from your own work?
Very rarely will you see any of my work in the magazine.
Yeah.
Because it's not about me. It's about the community. I did start out with maybe a couple images, but we did have to start by asking people if we could publish their work. And it was not an easy thing to do. I went back to, remember I told you about the Flickr group I was in. I went back to members of that group, and our first issue contained the work of a woman who was in that group. And so I went back to a lot of those people to see if they were interested. And so in the early days, it took a lot to get 6 articles in a magazine.
But now?
Now we're generally booked out 6 months in advance.
Yeah.
With the work that's submitted to us.
And Ashley Riffo helps you as well.
Oh, she's brilliant.
Yeah.
I hired her through online as a part-timer. She's very organized. I used to, in the early days, we were publishing every other month, and sometimes I'd miss a month. And she said, look, you've got to set a schedule. And here, I'm going to make an editorial spreadsheet, which we still use for planning it. And a lot of the things that I don't have up here, she's got. She's very, very organized, flexible. She's great. She's great.
We often talk about this, about the printed image and how important it is to see things in print on a wall and be able to hold a tactile print. But the magazine has never gone. I know you got a book, and we'll come to the book. But it's never become something to go on newsstands, has it? As a printed publication. Has there been moments where you thought, right, I want to take it down that direction as well, or is the digital? You stayed faithful to digital, obviously, all these years.
No, I thought about it many times. I like what Frames magazine is doing, what Tomasz is doing.
Oh, it's fantastic.
And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. He does really great work. And I've thought about doing that. We can do it. Print on demand is definitely a good technology for that. But then, of course, the layout takes a lot of time. So I'm working so much now. Do I want to go that route? So the answer is yes, I want to print. I come from a world of print. My grandfather printed a newspaper. When I was a child, photographs were always physical objects. They were never something you would look at on a screen. And the only way to really see a piece of photography the way the photographer intended is to have that photograph or magazine in your possession.
I asked for it's a loaded question really, because we're in the process of it's taken 5 years, Bob, but for the first time in 5 years I'm thinking about doing a zine ourselves for our community. And I've looked at it. I thought, what should it be printed? But it comes with all those problems of delivering to different corners of the world. Fulfillment is a full-time job probably for somebody else, or at least a team. But also the digital side for me, it's so much easier, obviously, to deliver. And as you say, Tomasz makes his beautiful magazine, but I would imagine he lays awake at night sometimes with fulfillment headaches. I
would love to, and I might. I'm doing my own book, or I'm starting as a zine with my own personal work, using what I learned by self-publishing our own book.
As I've found with running effectively a community podcast in all ways really, where the letters that come in, the feedback that you get to interviews and subjects that you talk about are very much the fuel for the show. And in your case, with having a magazine, online or otherwise, of course you need submissions from those reading. What are you looking for? What makes a good story for you for the magazine?
Well, there's 2 types of submissions. They submit single photos, because we have one article every month, or photos that individuals submit, and then there's photo stories, essays, articles, whatever you call them. And number one, it has to be good work. Mm-hmm. So it takes a little while to separate the wheat from the chaff. So yeah, it has to be good work. On the article side, which is the harder part, we want people to edit their own work in terms of how many photos they send. Don't send me 100 pictures. Well, our system won't even let you send us 100 pictures. Don't send me a link to your website and tell me to pick something out. That's not going to happen. Sorry.
So you're looking for a full photo essay, a full article?
Yes, a full article.
Written by the photographer?
Written by the photographer. Yeah, so we'd like you to explain what you've got, either about the photographs or about your life or about, whatever. Be creative with it. And we get a lot of really good stories.
Well, I know of people that have submitted to you that have said, it feels like you've just been, and here we go, returning to National Geo. It feels like you've just been given the reins to be your own National Geo.
Absolutely. And Ashley is an excellent writer and an excellent editor. And so that's what we want a story. We want you to tell your story or whoever's story. And I should call it Storytelling Magazine. But it's not easy. It's not easy to limit your photographs, and it's not easy to come up with 1,200 words of text that relates to your work and what it's all about.
I've just been asked what I think is the impossible question in an interview that I sat recently. So I'm going to bounce this back at you, where the question was, what's your proudest moment? What's been something over the last, for you, what's been something over the last decade plus with the online magazine, with the podcast that supports the magazine, and now with a book, Where the Streets Lead, which you edited with Ashley. Can you pull out a moment where you think that made a real noise? That was a defining moment.
Yeah, it wasn't editorial, but it's podcast related and Ashley related because it was her ideas. Okay, so we published that book and we made a lot of mistakes. So we published that book and we're sitting here with these books and, like I said, we made a lot of mistakes. We learned a lot of things. And Ashley said, we have to share this with everybody about what we went through. Maybe we could make their lives easier. So we did a podcast episode on the mistakes we made and what we learned.
In publishing the book.
This is in the process of publishing the book. It took us a year. So we did that. I thought nothing of it. Okay, yeah, that's really nice. It came out really well. Published a podcast. The rest of our book sold out in less than a week. I go, wow, that's pretty cool. So that means, so we just told a story about an experience and
then people wanted the book.
People loved it. And we got so many replies to that. We got more email about how much people enjoyed that over anything we've done. Not that, it helped us sell more books. I think it surprised me that this little thing we do actually touches a lot of people. I think we helped a lot of people.
I think the spoken word can do that. It can be very effective.
Yes, really. Sometimes, you think you're just talking to you're over the wall when you do these things. And there's actually people listening. Yeah.
At the end of our interviews, I always ask a question, and it is a very simple one, and it's why. Why do you do it? Why do you make the magazine? Why do you photograph? What would be your why, Bob? What keeps you doing this?
There's somebody else who lives in my house that asked me that same question. I do it because I love it. I wanted to be a journalist. I am one now. My beat is people who like to take photographs in the moment. And I get to help them tell their own stories. And I really love doing that.
And my thanks to Bob Patterson for chatting with me today on the Photo Walk Show. Listen to this now, would you? I've walked a bit further on, away from the industrial bit that neighbours Greenham Common. The planes have all planed off for a while. Quick, let's get another letter in, shall we? And because we've got the 500th show in the bag, I'm reading a few of the notes about that show before and then some after. So thank you for those of you who've written in about the 500th show and reaching this this marker. This one is from Axel Trapp in Germany land. Dear Neil, this is Axel from Germany land. I know that, Axel. I can see you. Thank you for nearly 500 times of inspiration, entertainment, wonder, laughter, enthusiasm, and so much more. All of that, please tell my kids. I haven't missed a single episode of the Photo Walk. That's special because I've never stuck with something for so long, and it's definitely a compliment. A compliment to you, Neil, one that I will take with plenty of flattery. It's a privilege. Really, it is. There must be some kind of medal of commitment that I can send to you. Or a therapist, perhaps, I can recommend. I send you my best wishes for the next 5,000 plus episodes. Hang in there. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm not alone in that, I am sure. I did, just for the whatsits and giggles, do a little bit of mathematical research to see how old I might be if we get to 5,000 episodes. And it'll be in the year 2021, and I will be 153 years old. Have I done my maths right there? I think I have. I'm not feeling entirely confident, Axel, that I'm going to get to that one. Could we just aim for episode 1000 instead and see where we go from there? Surely I'll have exhausted everybody by then. There'll only be me and Barney left. He's looking at me and that. Do you think I'm going to go on that long? Yes, Barney, of course you will. You're with us for a good while yet. Not if you keep chasing the cows like you did the other day. You're scratching a lot, actually. Dog owners. Those with cockapoos. I know that they're a very scratchy breed. Sorry, Dog Monthly for a moment. I went to the vet the other day because he had to have his regular jabs. And the vet said, yes, I can put him on this pill and that pill, and this does that and this. And then there's an injection and steroids of this and steroids of that. I said, right you are, because I don't like it when he itches all the time. It can't be fun for him. And perhaps he's allergic to me. That might be it, Axel. He's allergic to me. But the vet said, yeah, we can do all that. Said, that sounds fantastic. How much will that set me back? It's about 750 quid a year. No, 850 quid a year. That's right, 850 pounds a year. Barnes, I love you. Let's not finish that sentence. Where were we? Anyway, I have a little thank you for you. You've said time and time again that you love postcards. That's why my postcard project is dedicated to you. Yes, you read that right. A postcard project. Blimey, Axel, that's the second time something's been dedicated to us in one single episode. I'm flamboozled with all your kindness. I really am. I love postcards too, says Axel, especially when I find them unexpectedly in my mailbox. Unfortunately, though, hardly anybody writes them anymore. I would say probably that's because, well, I can just reference the UK, England land at any rate, that it cost me about, I don't know, I wouldn't get much change out of 50 quid for sending a postcard these days, once you bought the card and the postage. I came up with the idea, he says, moving on quickly, says Axel, of making a postcard from one of my black and white photos every week and then send it to myself. I've been doing this for several years now. Yes, it does feel like I'm coming out with this information, but I finally found the time, recovering from several cancer surgeries, to share my love of postcards with you and others. The Postcard Project, Neil, has been born. And these are the key features. It's called Greetings from the Past. You get one of my photo postcards in your inbox every week for 8 weeks, with one secret at the end. A secret? I do love a secret. And as soon as the season is over, then the subscribers are deleted, and that's it. Okay, I've talked enough for now. I wish you and your loved ones good health and joy and love, and always a smile when things aren't going your way. See you soon, someday, somewhere, somehow. I feel that should be a song. All the best from Axel. Well, firstly, Axel, I hope you are on the mend and recuperating. And secondly, I love this idea. So you publish a postcard. There's one on your blog each week, but first dibs is for those who've subscribed to receive your postcard, and they get this special secret at the end. Can you see that I'm obsessing about the secret a bit? I do love it. because it gives you a chance to creatively stretch your wings, or whatever the phrase should be. Create these postcards, something that you clearly love doing, and let others enjoy the experience as well. Absolutely wonderful. I love this idea. I think it has the right amount of quirk and vive la défense about it, this idea that people sign up to receive a postcard with something at the end which is a complete surprise. Absolutely perfect. I am going to leave a link to your website where those that would like to receive a postcard each week can do so. Now, we are a little bit into this series, so I'm hoping that there will be a series 2 and a 3 and a 4 and maybe, Axel, a 5,000 plus. I have a road trip across America soon. I've been talking about this, and one of the things that this may have inspired me to do is make my digital daily postcard. There is actually a postcard booth within an antique centre just down the road from me, Axel, and every time we pass by, I find myself in that tiny 2 metre by 2 metre square space, perhaps a yard or so more, just going through old postcards. There's something just glorious about them. What I find that I love the most, though, is the odd card where somebody's written something on the back. They've written a postcard because they're on holiday. They've gone to, I don't know why Truro comes to mind first in England land, but they've gone to Truro. And on the back it's, "Dear Daphne, having a wonderful time," and a few things you don't really need to know about. And then lots of love, wish you were here. And then sometimes even more personal messages. I find them incredible. It's a real gem when you find words on the back of an old postcard. It's like a detective project. Maybe it's a project. Neil, you do not need another project. Just concentrate on this one and making it to 153 years old. Right you are then. Anyway, thank you, Axel. A perfect project of yours. And a link to this is on the show page today. Come on, pups, this way. Come on. Just in time for another airplane. Look, it's going straight over us as well. I reckon they radio around, I do. What do they say? Golf, Oscar, Whiskey, Charlie, Lima. Have you spotted down below? Man with microphone. Man with microphone, 1 o'clock. Honestly, this one, at least it's a bit quieter. Right, one word assignment time. As I said last week, I was a tad concerned that the one-word challenge was a little closely related to last month's. If you, Tranquility was last month and the month before. And I'm not going to do a spoiler because we're just about to, if you haven't heard it yet, reveal what is this month's one-word assignment. It's set by Ibarionex Perello. Ibarionex, what word are you setting?
First word that comes to mind is patience.
Is patience in terms of how you technically make a photograph or find a subject, or how long you stay with a subject?
It could be all those things.
All those things.
I know how I kind of apply it in terms of my practical making of a photograph, because it involves a lot of patience.
You're patient.
Yeah. Oh, when I'm making photographs. But, all three variations that you created there could apply. Mm-hmm. So, and if someone could actually make a photograph that kind of reflects what patience may look like, that would be very interesting to see as well.
How can you evoke patience in a picture?
Mm-hmm.
Send your pictures to stories@photowalk.show. 2,500 pixels wide if you can possibly manage. Full res is fine if you can't optimize for our website size. I'll do the heavy lifting. A few thoughts about the image is always nice, if it can help tell a story. No watermarks, no borders, but do include links to a social or a website so that I can share more of your work. Submissions go on the assignments page and may feature on our Instagram as well. Always, of course, with a tag back to you if you're an Instagrammy kind of person. So, yes, I did think that tranquility and patience could be a bit too neighbourly, but as I said last week, there is nuance in this. And I started to think of some scenarios, actually, just to help it along. Maybe a bus stop or a train station. That moment where nothing seems to be happening and you're looking around and seeing lots of people waiting. Have you noticed, by the way, if you It's just an observation I've made, and don't go starting to photograph people's feet on a station too obviously, otherwise, I don't know, you might raise an eyebrow or 5. But how people stand, I'm doing it now, a little bit pigeon-toed. Isn't it called pigeon-toed when they point their feet in towards each other? It's weird, isn't it? Look, I'm doing it now, pups. What do you think? He woofed slightly. Yes, you're right. It's a bit strange, yes. Pets is another one. Pets can be very patient, although I say this with a bit of caution because I'm not sure that I want 1001 pictures on the same assignments page of cats and dogs. I say that with the deepest of respect, he says, while not sounding very respectful, I'm sure. But pets are good. Puddles. Now, this is where writing might come in handy because puddles, you have to be patient and wait by sometimes and just get that perfect moment when, I don't know, somebody walks through or cycles through or whatever they do, the patience it takes for you to get that shot. But then a story would be quite good there, wouldn't it, if you can write something alongside it. So that's puddles. Oh, anyway, a few ideas for you when it comes to the one-word assignment. Valérie is here soon with this month's Teach Me Street. Thank you for waiting. Subtle, Neil. I can see what you did there. It's the photo walk of a Friday. Me out with Barnes, Barkalot, yes. With my camera, with your letters, with my notes. Wherever you are in the world and whatever you're doing, I know that you're not always necessarily walking along with us, along paths or through woodland, next to seascapes, perfect seascapes. But wherever you are, you're very welcome. Always good to hear from you. Right, I know, I tell them, I haven't forgotten. I know, I'm going to do it, I'm doing it now. Goodness, aren't you vocal this morning? All right, hold on, okay. I'm going to get told off by Keith. He'll say, come on, he barks and you give him a treat. This is why he barks. I know, but at the same time, Keith, I need to do the show. And this is my way of saying, give me another 5 minutes. That agreement sort of works. Then we're going to go for a bacon butty, pups. We are meeting up with my good friend Giles. So we are. There we go. Enough now. Go find a stick. I need to finish this, okay? Go on. Off you go. Actually, I could have summed up everything about patience a moment ago with this following letter before Valérie. I can't remember what I was just about to go into there. Was it something important? I hope not. Anyway, a very timely follow-up to setting the assignment. This is a letter from one of our extra milers, Jason Burton. Oh, Jason, yes, what I was about to do. Email address. stories@photowalk.show. That's it, stories@photowalk.show. To hear from you and what you've been doing and where you've been walking. Sorry, Jason. It was a bit of a, oh, look, a squirrel moment then, wasn't it? Anyway, from Jason, it's in response actually to something we were talking about on the Extra Mile show, Extra Mile 146. So it wasn't long ago. It was a reflections piece on that show that I'd written about the is it struggle or striving for perfectionism? Hello, Neil. First, I'll get to the part you struggle with. I'll get it out the way because it needs to be said. Oh, Barnes, bring me the sofa of flattery, will you? What a community you've created. Well, thank you. I really enjoy it and continually promote it to other photographers and friends. Ah, you're our marketing department. Where's marketing? Which floor of Photo Walk Towers is that on? I think that might be floor 153. There's an office waiting for you. Free coffee, as many Garibaldis as you want, on tap. I look forward to the Friday photo walk each week and recently decided to walk the extra mile with you as well. Well, Jason, you are certainly part of what keeps this ship afloat, which I'm a little bit nervous about saying, actually, in that I have a long voyage ahead of me next month. The reason for writing is in response to the reflection piece about perfectionism, so I thought I'd share my finished photography project with you. It began 7 years ago, after a talk on photography projects that was given to my local camera club. The speaker felt that all photographers should have a project and suggested a few to try, and the one that stuck with me was to photograph a tree over a period of a year. I thought, this is something I could manage. I enjoy doing this. So my search for a tree began. This is a bit like finding a Mallee's tree, isn't it? It's a Mallee's tree story. I knew the tree had to be close to home and easy to access because of having to photograph it multiple times. And this was going to be difficult enough with a full-time job, so I didn't really want a long journey to add to that problem. During my search, I read an article on the photographer Stephen Wilkes about his project Day to Night. And I thought, rather than have a series of images showing the stages of the tree, why don't I try and do what Stephen does with his Day to Night, but just with the tree? Blend the images together to show the year of the tree in just one picture. So on a dog walk at the end of 2023, I finally found the tree. And with a plan in my head, I started to photograph it straight away. I realized early on that I needed to work out a way of getting my camera in the same position each time, and that the sun had to be lighting the tree from the same direction in each image if I was going to blend the images together. Now, that won't work all year round, will it? I suppose some days, though, you choose a scrimmed sky and it doesn't really matter. The walk to the tree is only 1.3 miles with a decent elevation gain of 577 feet. I visited the tree 28 times for images, which makes the combined journey 36.4 miles and a climb of 16,156 feet. My word, isn't that something like half of Everest? Jason, I think you've just invented a new fitness class for photographers. I enjoyed watching how everything changed and grew, the common purple orchids that came and went, and the grasses and foliage around the tree that developed and changed. I saw cloud inversions, got very wet at times. I was blown about. On one occasion, I wished I wore my gloves for the cold, I would imagine, Jason. I met and chatted to people who walked past, including 2 women from America, who were only a mile or so away from completing Offa's Path. My dog, Bruce, kept me company on all but 2 visits, and despite his young age, he behaved. Are you listening to this? Most of the time. My journey through this project has been very beneficial. I've learned a lot, and I'd say that the project has been well worth doing. I've photographed far more than I normally would and learned a lot more as a result. And so to the speaker who spoke to the camera club so many years ago, thank you. You were right in saying projects are a great way to learn and grow in photography. I've attached the final image for the show page. See? I told you this show page is one worth visiting. Now, during one of the morning shoots while I was making a picture, I was listening to the photo walk, and lo and behold, who pops up but Stephen Wilkes, being interviewed by your good self. Episode 427, 24 Hours on Earth in just one picture. Talk about serendipity. Just at the right moment, this renewed my determination to complete the project and get that final image. Thank you once again for the inspirational shows, and now on to my next project, completely inspired by yourself, your guests and your community. All the best, Jason. Jason, you can't leave it there. What's the next project? What are you doing? Anyway, this picture that you've sent is tremendous. It really is. Can you see what I did there? It's a father-in-law joke. But it's a photograph, this one, that you certainly have to linger at, because when you start to see the change of seasons in it, you think, oh, yes, there, there's bits of snow on the floor. The tree changes, the foliage on it changes. It's fantastic. I won't do it justice by explaining the picture. It is one of those ones you have to go to the show page and see. And I'll also link to Jason's Flickr, because you can see some of the photographs that actually formed the project as it took shape. So thank you, Jason, for that letter. Absolutely perfect. Although I still don't know how you made sure you were precisely in place for the pictures that you made, because a slight change can make all the difference in perspective, can't it? So you'll need to write, but there's my excuse to ask you to write in again with some more of your wonderful work. I'd like to know what you did in that respect. Did you have a GPS gizmo-y thing? Right, from a lesson in Teach Me Patience, because that certainly was, to a lesson in Teach Me Street. Here is Valérie Jardin, about to go on her travels again.
You are about to leave for Normandy. It's one of your favouriteest places in the world. I don't know whether do you put that in front of Paris, or is Paris slightly behind it, or are they on a par?
Well, Normandy is where my family is, and it's where I was born and raised. So, of course, it's always super special, and it's a very special workshop, which I'm actually putting on hold for a whole year. So I know I did that once a few years back. I put it on hold for 1 year. When I reopened it the following year, it filled up in 45 minutes. I was like, I felt bad because it filled up before Australia got a chance because they were sleeping when the newsletter went out. So people were really waiting for it to reopen. So I'm taking a break next year from the Normandy workshop, but it's coming back in 2027. And yes, it's so special, so special. Yeah. It's a travel street photography workshop. It's really about visual storytelling, but it's home. So it's all the stories that go with it and all the history. And I have a wonderful chauffeur for the whole week who is part of the entertainment, I feel. And so who's become a really good friend. So it's all good. It's really a fun workshop for me.
I'm intrigued. What do you mean part of the entertainment?
Yeah, Jean-François, who's become a really good friend, used to be he used to do some stand-up. He used to be a cop, and then he did stand-up comedy.
Oh,
so we all have interesting stories. So
he certainly does. I've never been to Normandy. I like to think I'm not really well travelled across France because it's a huge country, but I have done some driving holidays there. I've driven through it a few times. I've worked some weddings in France as well, but I've never, ever, ever been to Normandy. It is a place that's firmly on my list. And you're right about the history. It's such an important historic place, and not just in recent modern history either. It's probably, that's a very appropriate place really to be mentioning, because the first of our pictures and our questions for Teach Me Street for this episode, we have three pictures, 3 questions, is we got 2 to start with from Michael Mixon, and his pictures were made while he was vacationing or holidaying. And I think this plays well into the fact that you said, well, street photography doesn't have to be on a busy city street. You see street photography just as much in Normandy, don't you?
Absolutely. I do probably half of my work on the beach, so... Yeah,
well, there's
absolutely.
all those beach projects that we've talked about in the past. Anyway, this one is, so the first 2 are from Norway.
Yes.
So, while this one was taken in a city on an actual street, the humans in it are obscured by the plastic barrier surrounding the little sitting area. Now, I'll put this on the show page so you can see this, but he describes it pretty well. Truth be told, says Michael, it was the light on the tables that initially caught my eye, but then I thought that the scene might be more interesting if I managed to get the out-of-focus shapes of people in the background instead of simply photographing empty tables. And that composition also fed my fascination with recently vacated spaces. That sounds like a great project, actually.
Okay, I love his approach, and that he first saw the beautiful light on those empty tables. That is really beautiful. It's golden hour, so you can't go wrong. It's really a color shot. And then the silhouettes of the people through that plastic, which is also a beautiful filter because all the imperfections show up, right? All the scratches on the plastic. So you have this beautiful filter. Whenever you can put anything between your lens and the subject, it's great, right, Neil? We practiced that in Paris.
I was about to say, in Paris we did that, yeah.
And so the only thing when you have silhouettes, you need separation. So the 2 people are well separated, but there's still a little, it's not quite clear. I mean, we know we're looking at people, but there is not enough gesture. One is kind of sideways, and we see this big lump of a backpack. So those are little details that will make or break the silhouette. So silhouettes, you want separation between people. Gestures are nice, like an a hand or something would be really nice. If they were looking at each other, then you see the facial features would be nice also. But really, it's all about avoiding people with backpacks, or if they have backpacks, wait till they shift position so you don't see it. So that's about the only thing. I love the thought. I love how he incorporated that in his travel photography. Actually, I'm teaching a class in one of my webinars in November. Is called Beyond the Postcard, Capturing the Soul of a Place. And these are the type of photograph I will be talking about. Really capturing the soul of a place includes the locals, right? And so I think there's so much good in this picture. And overall, I love the mood. These are the tips I would give him next time he's in that situation and there are people silhouetted.
Compositionally, you got people right smack bang in the middle of the frame. It's not troubling me too much, but I just thought I'd point it out in case we have any of those people that feel fairly twitchy about center frame stuff.
Rules are there to be broken.
I thought you'd say that.
Right. I actually love the light that hits the people to the side, how the rim light along the edges of their heads. It's really pretty as well.
Have you been to Norway? Have we talked about this before?
No. That's that's on my list.
I tell you what,
going back to Denmark though next year.
Are you?
Can't resist going back to Denmark.
I want to go there just for the food. Can I come on that course and I'll just sit in a restaurant and watch you all walk by with your cameras?
Oh no, you're walking, Neil.
Right, next one is called Fishing on the Fjord. If I recall correctly, Mike says, Valérie did mention on a previous show that street photography has to take place on a street. No, well, we've already discounted that. No, you didn't say that at all, actually. No.
No, the street, you don't need the street, but you need the people.
Yes, that's what you said. Yeah. Because we've already talked about Normandy, and that's not a city street at all. So anyway, but when I Google the definition of street, I see it defined as a genre of photography that captures candid moments of everyday life in public spaces. So I hope this one qualifies. Yep. Well, it does, doesn't it? I think straight away. I often like to include a little human, not a short one. Not sure we're allowed to say that, but simply small in scale relative to the rest of the picture. In my landscape photos, that is. And I certainly wouldn't consider those streets, since the landscape is absolutely the star of the show. But in this case, in this picture, I think it's the tableau of the family fishing off the dock that catches the eye, and that's what I wanted to capture. So I'm curious to know what Valérie thinks of this distinction. And I suppose, is this a street photo? It's wonderful. I love the colours in it, by the way. It is muted colors. Beautiful.
Absolutely. And that's why I don't like calling it street photography, because again, you do not need the street. You need the human element. It's a moment of everyday life. So you need the people. You don't need the street. So maybe I said it too fast when I said it. If it's an empty street, then it is not street photography. No. It's urban or architectural photography. So these are the distinctions. The description is correct. It's a moment of everyday life. So there has to be people. And it can be like this. This is a beautiful, beautiful travel shot. I mean, this is a travel shot to me because it includes people. It includes a beautiful setting, a sense of place. I mean, just those little red houses on the shore there. You kind of know you're in Norway.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
And then the splash of color of first the human element in red and the green really brings the attention, and then your eye travels to those red houses obviously and that yellow boat on the water. So it's really a beautiful, beautiful travel shot. That's, to me, that's documentary photography. It's a travel photograph with the human element, which is beautiful.
Great serenity in this one as well. When you're making your pictures, Valérie, are you looking for scenes that are full of dynamic energy? I know we talked about dynamic stepping. I want you to know that will never disappear out of my mind. But
Sorry.
I wake up in the middle of the night. Dynamic stepping. It's got to be dynamic stepping. Are you looking for things that really make the image move, or are you quite happy with serenity as well? I know you do your contemplative photography, but I'm talking street terms.
Yeah. No, it depends on my mood. Actually, every photograph really reflects your own energy at that moment. I truly believe. And I don't overthink. I respond. I don't ever think composition. It just becomes the way you see. After you do this for a while, you're not going to start thinking, okay, rule of thirds, blah, 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 leading line. You would never take a picture. It just becomes the way you see. And you see those strong elements that will make the best photograph possible will be a combination of a lot of different elements. It just becomes the way you see, but it's a response. But no, I love quiet moments. I'm not I don't like crowds. Even at the state fair, it's crowded. I mean, that's 2 million people over 12 days. And trying to find those beautiful, quiet moments in a crowd is a challenge, but I that's what I love. That's why I love going there.
I do find that juxtaposition you have there, the state fair, is one of the busiest. Is it the busiest one in the States? Am I right with that?
Yes, with the one in Texas, which is I think 3 weeks long. So Minnesota State Fair voted the best state fair in the country.
Obviously. So it
is real. Neil, you have to experience it. Seriously, you really have to experience it.
Well, now I know it's a family thing. I mean, your son's working there. You're there wearing your dark glasses and trying to meld into the audience there. But the pictures that I've seen that you take there, it's a delight for documentary work, isn't it? Everywhere you look. I mean, even just going into the stables and the sheds with the cows as well. And and I don't suppose people really are that bothered about you making pictures, are they?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I usually try to, again, capture those moments without interfering and without even being seen. But sometimes it's all about those beautiful smiles, like the series I just did on people winning those large stuffed animals at the Midway. It's all about joy, and it's fun. You can't really get those pictures without having a response because it's a happy moment.
Right, the last one today is from Gina Gordon. Hi, Neil. I am not sure how useful this image is going to be because it's rather hard to picture in the mind of the listener. However, the question is more general, so I think the question makes sense whether you see the picture or not. The picture will be on the show page, though. How do you balance the background of a shot against the subject of the photograph? Now, there is a little bit more on this. When I took this picture, it's a very busy picture, as I'm sure you're just about to talk about, for the background, that is. I was in Hackney Wick in East London. I was photographing a graffiti mural high up on a side wall when this striking woman walked past me from behind. I hadn't been aware of her, and the 2 quick shots I did manage were unplanned, off the hip, or from the hip. The first one was of her back, and then she half turned, and I took the second one. Lucky break, she says. Well, you make your own luck, I think. So what's your thoughts on this, and talk a little bit about distraction in pictures and how you can separate pictures when it comes to that.
Well, I mean, this one is all about the busyness of the background and the graffiti, and it's all about color. And then you have this striking subject in 2 different shades of green, with the big orange shoes, the pink hair, and the pink cast. She must have a broken wrist. Going through that frame. It is all about color. This would not have been a picture in black and white. It would have made absolutely no sense. And the fact that she is walking out of the frame is fine. The lucky break is that she actually turned around. This of her just walking away, I don't think would have made an interesting photograph. It's interesting because we see her face. She has those funky glasses. Without that, I don't think she would have had much. But it's great. I'm glad she had that quick reaction. She was ready. Obviously, camera was on. The landscape was at home. And she got the shot. So good for her.
She certainly did. And you can see that picture and Mike's on the show page today. Lots, as I've said before, only a few times, Neil, today. Yes, I know. Lots to see on the show page today. And that's it for this week's show. Next week, I was about to say it's the biggie, but they're all biggies, aren't they? Really? That would be rather clumsy. It's a biggie number, if I'm allowed to use that completely made-up word. That's what it is. Episode 500. Say it with me. 3, 2, 1. No, on 1. 500. Now, I know some podcasts across the years have got to 1,000. So they'll be looking at me saying, 500? You're still a newbie, Neil. But not many. I think 500 is a proper milestone. But it wouldn't have happened without you. It would have been a pretty lonely place if it had just been the guest and me and occasionally Barney. I did do a little cursory research and found that it's reckoned that less than 2.5% of podcasts will ever reach 500. And even that could be a high estimation. So we're a bit proud of that at Photo Walk Towers. I've sent a delegation to floor 48 who look after milestones. They're not a particularly busy bunch because it takes a while to get to one. Anyway, to celebrate, I go for a walk with a bunch of photo walkers next week. What would be the best collective noun for a bunch of photo walking photographers on a 500th episode? Answers on a postcard. Send them via Axel. But yes, so we go on a walk, we talk and we walk, and you're invited to walk along with us on that special episode next week. And then, well, it might be the following week or maybe a week after that, the Scottish special, because we're in Scotland as you listen to this. So, lots to come on the show. Now, the Extra Mile features Bob Patterson. He is back today on our patron show, The Extra Mile, which is where our extra milers I talk so affectionately about hang out.
On this week's Extra Mile.
I'll tell you, I was in my hometown, East Liverpool, Ohio. I was there on business. I hadn't been back in a while. My parents were gone for many years, for several years. And had my camera, my little Canon G7. That's how far back we go. Love that thing.
Nice.
And not many people on the streets. You know, the poor town was affected by the opioid crisis. You hear about that. So kind of dead. And I'm walking down the street. It's November and the light's getting low. And I walk by this barber shop. I love barber shops. And I looked in and the proprietor's inside and he raised me in.
So more from Bob. And if you'd like to hear a little more from the Photo Walk each week, head to the website and click Extra Mile and the orange support button. Your help keeps us walking week after week. And you get to hear all the reflection pieces, one a day, every weekday. All right, time for the play-out song. One of my favourite artists, Bayo, has a cracking new song out called For the Rest of My Life. Perfect for a few more steps along the path to think and make a few more pictures in what looks today, to me at any rate, where I am, like the twist in the path when summer starts to look and feel a little autumnal, because we have some beautiful sunshine today, but there's certainly a bit of a chill.
It's more than enough to let the light in. The way you're making me feel, it's divine. It's enough to let it flow, let it be. You're everything that I crave in this life. 'Cause we're everything we can find in another life. Take my hand and my promises, they're yours to be held, and I want you. I only front out loud, in the calm, in my spirit and the storm. 'Cause you're everything that I crave in this life. 'cause we're everything we can't find in another life. Take my hand and I promises that you'll soon be held, and I want you. I only want you. Keep my heart and my honor is yours to be held, and I want you. I only want you for the rest of my life. For the rest of my life. For the rest of my life. For the rest of my life.
That's Bayo, and For the Rest of My Life. Beautiful song. So the 500 show is next week, a gentle walk in the countryside with some very good friends of ours and the show, and I'm looking forward to walking with you as well. As always, just a few closing thoughts before the PS today, the postscript. My sincere thanks to you if you are or you're about to become an extra miler. We'll keep building, say it together now, this wonderful community of kindness in the photographic and walking world together. A safe place to share our thoughts about this thing that we love, photographing and walking. A few mentions for those who keep the wheels on the bus turning, as it were. My thanks to Neil Ford, who looks after IT. When your tech says no, our head of IT says, let's fix it, just like Bob. Remote support, human touch, he can help you too if you drop me a message, and I'll link you two together. My thanks also to Andrea Gilpin, who keeps a watchful eye over Instagram, as does Kelly Mitchell for Facebook, and Kelvin Brown, who's at the helm of the Flickr group, and to Michael Brennan, who compiles the music of the show onto a Spotify playlist. Right, a postscript for the show. I wanted to find one about patience, and I've gone and done what I did last week, and I found two. I know they's not the rules, but all the same, I found a cracking one from the photographer Alfred Eisenstadt, the German-born American photojournalist, best known for his candid shots in Life magazine, including the iconic VJ Day kiss in Times Square. You know the one, I know you do. He said, people will never understand the patience a photographer requires to make a great photograph. All they see is the end result. I can stand in front of a leaf with a dewdrop or a raindrop and stay there for ages, just waiting for the right moment. Sure, people think I'm crazy, but who cares? I see more than they do. And that perhaps is another good idea for a patience shot for the assignment. But then I thought that would be fine, but then Alex Webb, I found one from him, celebrated for his rich street scenes, especially from Latin America and the Caribbean, often published through Magnum, of course. And I thought, because he touched on street, this would be perfect too, because it's been, with our guests anyway, a street-based week. But it's also relevant, I think, what he says to what we do each and every week as we wander with our cameras. He said, I only know how to approach a place by walking. But what does a street photographer do but walk and watch and wait? See you for the 500 next week.
What's there to hold in the light of this moon? My mind keeps searching, but my heart decides. Thoughts can be cruel, they're not mine to hold. The space unravels when you let go.
The Photo Walk is a Loading Zone production.